All right, check the mic after dark. Halloween night, Thursday night football. Jets get the win, Sam, 21-13. The game started slow, very, very slow. There was more injuries than points at one point by a wide margin. But Jets, really an impressive second half. Garrett Wilson, 2 touchdowns, both one-handed catches, probably the catch of the year. And that may have been the turning point in the Jets season. They moved to 3-6 with the win. Texans fall to 6-3. Vegas knew. We said it was a sucker bet, and it was. The Jets win and cover as favorites.
Yeah, the start of the game was same old Jets, right? Their first 3 plays were Aaron Rodgers missing Davante Adams wide open, Breece Hall dropping the football, and then like an immediate sack from Rodgers on a blitz. It's like this is going to be the same old thing again. Nobody scored in the first half. Malachi Corley thought he did, but dropped the football before the goal line in what remains to me the single most mystifyingly stupid thing that NFL players do on a regular basis. It looked like this was going to be this ugly, low-scoring, grind-out game. And then, yeah, it caught fire in the second half, basically with Garrett Wilson making a couple of spectacular plays.
Yeah, I mean, I started to come to this realization. I think I've been feeling it. Things probably feel good for the Jets right now. They win, right? Trying to describe what we were describing with Rodgers over these last few weeks. We're like, he's playing pretty well. He's throwing the ball well. I think what we're trying to describe is he's throwing the ball well, but it feels like everything with the Jets is low percentage, including Garrett Wilson's 2 touchdowns. I mean, it was a 3rd and 19 prayer where he just went up and made an incredible catch. The other one was a one-handed catch over Jalen Petrie, catch and run. I mean, they're both beautiful plays. I think what we've been describing all year, though, is like Aaron Rodgers can still sling it. He can still make throws. It's just to pick up 15 or 20 yards, it takes a tight window throw or it takes a spectacular catch by Garrett Wilson. And they made those plays tonight. It was really impressive how they were able to bounce back. They had 16 dropbacks and 14 passing yards in the first half. Second half, though, completely different. The 2 Garrett Wilson plays. And then you got to see Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. I did hit the first part of my Prize Picks lineup. I'm sorry that you did not on the Tank Dell touchdown. I thought I was done. Davante Adams was in concussion protocol, but he came back to keep the lineup alive with the touchdown. Old school Rodgers to Davante Adams on the long touchdown out of the slot.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Petrie, a safety, effectively covering Davante Adams in man coverage one-on-one from the slot feels like an unideal matchup from a Houston point of view. The Tank Dell thing, they had it. They had it dialed up on the last play, and Hassan Reddick destroyed it. There's a snapshot. I posted it on Twitter. They stacked everybody to the left. They got Tank Dell to be the guy that runs the slant underneath the traffic. He's wide open. He's got 5 yards of separation. And before CJ Stroud can get it to him, he gets buried by Reddick. That cost me my Prize Picks lineup right off the bat again. Brutal. But
sorry.
Very,
at least you got some candy tonight. Did you get some candy? The kid?
No, because we're on a fairly extensive restricted calorie diet over here. So
that's right. That was
didn't
like
get the candy.
That was like the time I went on the diet, like the week of Thanksgiving. It's like I just poor timing, just poor timing for everything.
Yeah, not good.
I want to talk about the Jets, and we have to touch on from a Texans perspective. Like we've touched on the Jets offense a ton. The Texans offense had their own issues. The Jets technically did enough to probably score 20. I mean, to score 28 points. Malachi Corley dropping the ball at the goal line. We just talked about this 5 days ago, so 3 days ago. Come on, man. Just run through the back of the ends. Does Malachi Corley not listen to Check the Mic? I gave you the advice on what to do.
And the reason we talked about it is because Kyle Pitts just did this. Every single NFL team should have had this on a slide in a meeting somewhere. Hey, guys, just in case you've forgotten, do not be this stupid again, right? This is an inexcusably moronic thing that NFL players have a tendency to do. A guy just avoided doing it. Just a reminder out there, everybody, don't be this dumb, right? Malachi Corley has been out here like bitching on Instagram that like, I don't know why I'm not activated. I should be out here. I'm a playmaker. Put me on the field, coach. They finally put him on the field. They dial up a play for him, and the guy is so stupid, he drops the ball before he crosses the goal line. Like, what is that?
I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, nobody can get it. Nobody understands why. There's nothing good about it. There's nothing good about it. It's not even like just you either hand the ball directly to the ref or you run into the tunnel. Like you either do a Barry Sanders or a Bo Jackson. I would rather that you dunked it and took the 15-yard penalty. At least the touchdown counts.
Like, there's no upside. That's the thing that blows my mind. There's no plus to just dropping it early.
Anyway, so that's a thing. My point when I started that was that the Jets did enough to score 28 offensively, which is pretty impressive. That would have been a season high for their offense. Defensively, though, they were in Stroud's lap fairly often. I don't think it was even as bad as it felt. I saw early reports he was pressured 17 times. It's probably 17, 18 times, but 8 of those became sacks. And Kenyon Green has massive issues at left guard. Then he gets hurt. Kendrick Green came in to replace him. Both guards just got whooped. I think Quinnen Williams got in on 3 sacks of CJ Stroud. The entire rhythm of the passing attack was off. And then when Stroud, it's starting to have the makings of when a quarterback hears footsteps when they're not even there. And because Stroud's been under pressure so much, he's getting way too comfortable with trying to spin out of pressure. I mean, there's a lot of it, but he's getting too comfortable spinning out. And then there's other throws where he felt rushed and hurried and missed them even out of clean pockets. That is a massive issue right now for this Texans offense.
Yeah, I mean, weirdly, like both offensive lines had problems in terms of specific spots. Like the Jets, their guards were a pair of tackles. Like they have backup tackles manning the guard spots at the moment. And the Texans, we sort of looked at it coming into the season, whether it's Kenyon Green or Kendrick Green, neither one of them is a capable offensive guard, and it's a problem for them. It's really only that one spot that is a major problem. And they can't seem to patch it up. Like they haven't found a way of just helping, just giving the guy, like accepting that it's going to be a turnstile, and we don't have a fix for that on the roster right now. So figuring out a way of just bottling it up. But you're right, it was hemorrhaging pressure, and then Stroud is getting almost looking to get out of there at this stage, which, on plays where the pressure comes is a positive thing. But again, when you start to anticipate that and start looking to try and do that, all of the design plays, particularly in this style of offense, right, that's predicated on timing and rhythm, all goes out the window as soon as the quarterback has to play outside of structure.
Yeah, I mean, look, I said it for a lot of last year when it comes to Stroud and how he plays. He's more impressive than I had anticipated making plays outside of structure. And I just don't want him doing it more often. I think he's special working through his reads and everything. But if you're not giving him time, they're not securing the top of the pocket. And look, the first scoring drive was a 98-yard drive. It started with Stroud making a great throw outside the pocket on the run. He did make some spectacular throws, also missed a touchdown, missed an open throw on a third down early that he probably should hit again when he felt rushed. I do feel like the amount of times that he has to play outside of structure is affecting his ability to just make those throws from the pocket, where he was special last year. He was absolutely special. He did struggle against this Jets team last year. We talked about that on the preview show. It ended up with a similar stat line. Sam, it's crazy. 11 completions and 8 sacks for CJ Stroud. He finishes 11 of 30 for 191, and he gets sacked 8 times in this game. And they got the run game going. They had Joe Mixon was running extremely well. The only thing that really slowed him down was a couple holding penalties. He had 106 yards on 24 carries. They did move the ball on the ground. It was this passing attack that just could not get any kind of rhythm for the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, early in the game, it was like, why put the ball in the air? Like every time they ran the ball, it was a productive, positive, significant game from Joe Mixon. And then, as you said, the holding penalties killed them. But like it felt like they really should have attempted, I think, harder to just run that ball and not, because the Jets pass rush was teeing off on them. Anytime they were in an obvious passing situation, Quinnen Williams was wrecking shop inside. That was giving all kinds of like cleanup pressures to Will McDonald and Hassan Reddick, because Stroud can't go anywhere. Like the pressure up the middle was so intense and so quick and so severe that he's just dead on arrival in half these plays.
The Jets had, you mentioned injuries of their own. Olu Fashanu had to come in, play guard. He's a pure left tackle. I know, again, the offense was fine after he came in. They had good results, but it's not the best. Not the best for his development as a pure left tackle. Struggled at right tackle. some questions at right guard. But this was the old kind of an old school Jets defense, old school as in like the last couple of years. A lot of pressure, making life difficult. It's tight window throws. We're talking about Stroud missing throws, but it's not like wasn't a whole bunch of wide open throws that he was missing. Old school Jets performance. So can this be a performance that springboards them? You've made the point. Hey, if they could just get one of these wins, they should have beaten New England, right? They're a better team than New England. They could get one or two of those wins. It's a doable stretch for the Jets. I mean, you could look at it both ways. They're all going to be tough games, but is this the turnaround point for a 3-6 team?
I mean, it's certainly the first time in a while they're going to be feeling good about themselves, right? Like they found a way to get it done. They did start to play well. A few pieces of this team that hadn't been clicking before were clicking well. They got both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson firing at the same time. Breece Hall had a solid game. There's a lot of reasons to come out of this game with optimism from the Jets' point of view. So it certainly can't hurt. I mean, it's got to be propelling in the right direction. I think a lot of their season right now comes down to belief, right? And whether they actually do think that they can go on this run, because they have been pretty close. And obviously, from a Texans point of view, it's bad for them. You got to at least bring up the lack of receivers, right? Diggs with his ACL. Nico Collins is still, I think, a week away from coming back. So Tank Dell was their number one guy. Should have gotten the end zone at the end, but didn't, right? Had a reasonable game himself. Xavier Hutchinson,
open, but they couldn't block. Nobody in the interior could block tonight.
Xavier Hutchinson, Robert Woods, like outside of Tank Dell, he didn't have the weapons, right? So maybe that would have changed some of those plays where he would have been able to put the ball in the air earlier and not have to bail from the pocket and try and make something happen later in the down.
So Vegas was right, man. We talked about this on the show. Why would a 2-6 team like the Jets be favored over the Texans? You theorized, hey, maybe it was the receivers. Maybe it was just that lack of depth, and maybe the Diggs injury does swing that a couple points. But it's always tied together, Sam. We like to focus just on the offensive line. There was a lot of plays where Stroud did have a clean pocket, and guys weren't getting open. He wasn't able to, just throw the ball on time to somebody that was open.
And we said before, right? Like maybe one injury doesn't move the needle in terms of moving the Vegas line, right? Diggs going down on his own probably doesn't move the line. But when you start to compound them at the same position group, right? Diggs on top of Nico Collins, now you're taking away the top two receivers and promoting Tank Dell, who's a dangerous, gimmick number 3, gimmick in terms of, speed, threat, vertical threat, like a Xavier Worthy type of receiver. Now you're promoting him to be the number one guy on the team, right? That's different. So I think that probably does move the line in the Jets' direction and accounts for a lot of that.
Some people on Twitter asking if Sauce tore his Achilles. I don't think he did.
He definitely went down kind of non-contacty before like the adjustment from the guy he was trying to cover.
I feel like we would have seen something like that or heard something about that already at this point. I mean, it's an odd season for Sauce Gardner. It feels like every time I look up, it's he never got beaten, rarely got beaten the way he is this year. Penalties, he's been banged up. He came off the field at least twice due to injuries in this game. So odd season for Sauce Gardner. Did have a pass breakup in this one, but I don't know. We'll keep an eye on that because he was. I'm losing track of how often he's been getting hurt and where he stands and how much he's playing through those injuries right now.
Yeah, he hurt his ankle earlier in the game, so may have been playing through something. Like he went off before, or maybe just aggravated again. But he definitely was already in trouble before the guy adjusted in the end zone. And he sort of fell over trying to go with him. The other thing with Sauce is, I think he's got a target on his back now from an officiating point of view. Like, I think he's become one of these guys where, like, the word has gotten out that he's grabby, that he's handsy, and officials are looking to call it now in a way that they weren't earlier in his career. I don't know that he's actually playing any different or playing any worse. It's just that the line officials are judging him by has shifted, and he's going to have to adjust now off the back of that.
Isn't that one of the strangest things about being a cornerback and, given our history at PFF where we always tried to evaluate play by play and say, like, was this a good pass breakup? Did he get away with pass interference? so much of the position is figuring out what you can get away with. That's what the Legion of Boom did. That's what we used to always talk about with the playoffs. Certain teams are just, you could just be more physical in the playoffs, and all of a sudden you get away with stuff that you couldn't during the regular season. But you got to know that line.
I bet teams are politicking behind the scenes with this as well. Like this happens in rugby a lot as well with the scrum, where it's kind of chaos and nobody really knows what's going on. And so teams will basically put a bug in a referee's ear. Hey, watch out for this prop in the scrum. He's doing X, Y, and Z, right? And suddenly, if the word gets out that this guy is doing a certain thing, anytime the scrum collapses, it's obviously him. Paying number one. It's his fault, right? I think the same thing happens in the NFL where teams are like, hey, watch out for Sauce. This guy's holding on every play. Like, watch, check, keep an eye out for it. And then the second you're actually looking for it, you're going to call it in every play because he is a physical corner. He wants to initiate contact. Contact does not necessarily equal holding or impediment or illegal contact. But once you're looking for it, you're going to, that sort of line of, is this okay, is it not? Like Derek Stingley had one, right? Where it looked pretty reasonable, to be honest. And they're like, that's illegal.
I want to highlight that whole sequence. The Jets were down 10-7. It was 4th and 1. They had a bunch of 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s in this game. It was 4th and 1, easy field goal, chip shot field goal. They got the new kicker, and they went for it. And they got that Derek Stingley illegal contact. Couple plays later, there's a holding call. They get moved back to 3rd and 19, and that's what set up the Garrett Wilson incredible catch. The one-handed OBJ still got his shin in. One shin equals a knee, which equals 2 feet. That all started from the Derek Stingley illegal contact. Look, the little ticky tack.
To be clear,
that was the turning point in the game.
Right. Which, to be clear, I think was a bullshit penalty. Like that.
Yes, agreed.
And Sauce has one of those as well, right? Where the first one of his penalties, I think, was equally ticky-tacky. My point being, though, if you're looking for that, you can find it, right? You can throw a flag pretty much anytime you want to. By the way, so, okay, it ends up as what? 8 points in the favor of the Jets. We also need to talk about the sequence where the Jets or the Texans were kicking a field goal. One of the dumbest penalties you're going to see. The guy straight up cans the center, which you haven't been able to do for years. Gives the Texans a fresh set of downs. They don't end up getting in there. They settle for a way shorter, easier field goal. And Kaimi Fairbairn doinks the bar from 27 yards. That would, if they'd scored the touchdown, they would have gone in the lead. If they'd kicked the field goal, they would have been down by 1. And instead they get nothing, despite the Jets gifting them a better opportunity at points.
It was an awful sequence. And look, again, this tends to happen, right? The Jets win, everything's good. I mean, they had Malachi Corley trying to give the game away. They roughed the kicker, which was the punter, and they roughed the snapper. I mean, they gave 30 yards on roughing the kicker and the snapper on 2 different penalties. And that one, strange sequence, man. The Texans obviously said, okay, we'll take the 3 points back because we want to try to score a touchdown. Yeah. Failed at the touchdown, missed the extra point. And even if Rodgers came back and hit Devontae Adams for the same exact touchdown that he did, it's that last sequence is a 1-score game. And so the Texans don't have to worry about being down 11. Do we kick the field goal? Do we try to score the touchdown? We still have to get an onside kick. Completely changes the game because of kickers, because they missed the field goal.
Yeah. I mean, missing a 27-yard field goal in today's NFL is insane. I mean, kickers are like money from 50 now, and you're clanging the upright from 27.
Also, I mean, that the Wilson catch, I mean, it was Rodgers just threw a prayer. Was that Petrie again? No, that was Lassiter.
No, it was
Lassiter was in position. It was unbelievable. Lassiter was in position, kind of gets knocked off balance. Wilson gets into position, does the one-handed catch. Second time in 4 days now, we've had the same foot hit in the end zone. So it would have been a touchdown if that rule existed. But again, a shin equals a knee, and he just barely got the shin in before you can go shin knee. You can't go heel toe, but you can go shin knee in the NFL because his knee hit out of bounds, but the shin hit in first. Touchdown.
The shin has always been a strange one. Yeah, good work. Jazz hands, get it back. Jazz hands, kill it. The shin has always been a strange one to me because I mean, without sounding like a nursery rhyme, like the shin is connected to the ankle, which is connected to the foot, which is, you know what I mean? Like, one foot doesn't qualify,
The
right?
higher
One
up the leg
ankle,
you go, the less,
right?
the
But
fewer
somewhere a lot, but
extremities you need.
so a knee is fine, right? One knee equals 2 feet. John Madden said it, so it's in the Bible somewhere, right? A foot is not enough. 1 foot doesn't count. Even if you tap it twice, it's not good enough. So somewhere between the foot and the knee, there's an arbitrary line where we say now it qualifies, and it's not like there's no clear defined point. It's just somewhere there the shin starts, and that's where we decide it's okay that that bit can touch, and that's 2 feet. It feels a little random and arbitrary. Like, I don't think that was a catch, to be honest. And yet
What?
they're like, yeah, that's a shin that counts.
Just like a wrist counts. A wrist is in. How do I? Jesse. A wrist is in. A shin is in. It was a catch.
Yeah,
It was a catch.
Wasn't
One
though,
last
really.
question here. So it's an 8-point game. The Texans, you mentioned, they blew a timeout. So they only had 2 timeouts. Now, I was of the mind they kicked the field goal on 3rd down. I was of the mind that they should have just kept going for the touchdown, that they needed the onside kick anyway. What I might not have considered, there was some sort of tipping point there because they only had 2 timeouts where they should have kicked the field goal around the 2-minute mark,
Yeah,
or you just go for the touchdown until you get it until it's 4th down. So it was kind of a weird
they kind of did neither.
Yeah. Because they didn't go for the. I mean, they ended up kicking the field goal on 3rd down because it's at that point time didn't matter, right? There was about a minute left, 50-something seconds left. Time didn't matter at that point. They only had 2 timeouts. They could never stop it, but they were close enough to getting a touchdown. They should have gone for the touchdown at that point, but there was probably some. I haven't done the exact math on it. Some tipping point where they should have gone for it or gone for the field goal sooner, right?
Right. I mean, they definitely should have gone for the touchdown because I still needed a Tank Dell touchdown at the end of the game for my Prize Picks lineup.
What am I? John Love said, "Stop it and thank you, Sam." So I don't know what he's referring to, but maybe he just disagrees with the catch. It was a touchdown. It was clearly a touchdown.
Yeah. Was it though? Really?
It's a pretty clear touchdown.
It's not.
Any other questions? I mean, as clear as it gets. So I'm 1 for 3. My Prize Picks lineup. Davante Adams. I was ready to give up. I mean, the concussion protocol is interesting, right? Like you go into the blue tent. There's like a quick. What is it? Just a quick concussion test, and it's like, hey, you might.
Yeah.
You might have a concussion. You don't clearly not have a concussion, but you might. Let's go to the locker room for further testing, and then you could come back out of the locker room cleared. And that's what happened with Davante Adams. Comes back into the game, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, there's some kind of, immediate test for it. Again, like rugby, they have an HIA head something. I've lost the ability to form words. What the hell is it? HIA. Anyway, they run a quick test and you have to answer a bunch of questions. They have a baseline on you beforehand to check, are you out of whack with your baseline answers? And if you are, you fail your HIA, you don't come back. If you answer the same as your baseline, you come back in the game. You don't have a concussion yet. Or at least we can't prove it. So I imagine the NFL has a similar process. Head injury assessment. That's what HIA is.
Head injury assessment. You got to go in, you take your little test, and hopefully you pass and you can come back. Meets 32 is asking if Harry could go out there and hit a 27-yarder without clanging it off the upright. It's debatable.
Probably.
He's about as good of a kicker as he is at picking games right now, I'd say. He's in last. He's having a rough week. I think we're all 0 for 1 here. We all got suckered in. Vegas knew. They all knew. We have a big day tomorrow. I got Rick Spielman on the show. I have not talked this up enough. Rick Spielman's coming back. We're talking draft tomorrow. You'll get his top 5 QBs. You'll get his sleepers, his Travis Hunter analysis. And I asked him some GM questions. I asked him, what do you actually do as the GM here in late October? What does the job look like? So that's on the YouTube channel tomorrow. Make sure you guys check that out, 10:30 Eastern. It will go live. So anything else, Sam, or anything else from the chat here?
No. I mean, I think we're out.
All right. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the like. We'll see you again